Culpable homicide not amounting to murder and murder. How to understand the difference between the two? This becomes very confusing for many young advocates. So in this video, I will be sharing with you a technique, a method of understanding the difference between the two. I may not dwell upon the detailed contents of both the sections, the offense of culpable homicide not amounting to murder, section 299, and the offense of murder, section 300. And at the end of the video, there will be a homework for you all, so that I can understand whether you have been able to apply the technique that I am sharing with you and understand the difference or not. Let us try to understand this with a very simple example. The example of a sabzi, vegetable. Many times you visit hotels for having your dinner and you order your favorite sabzi. Now suppose you order a sabzi named mixed veg, which contains all the ingredients of various vegetables put together. But when you find the sabzi is not up to the mark, you tell the chef to add some more masala or some tadka to that sabzi. Now the chef does that and brings before you a sabzi of mixed veg with extra tadka. But when you taste that, you find that still it is not satisfying your palate. So you again tell the chef to remove that tadka from it. Now what would the chef do? The chef, using his expertise, adds a diluter in that sabzi. That diluter then converts it again to a normal mixed veg sabzi. ठीक है? You understood the process. There is a mixed veg sabzi. Then there is an added tadka to it, and then there is a diluter which again brings it back to its original mixed veg state. Now if we apply this very example to understanding the difference between a culpable homicide not amounting to murder and murder, it becomes easier for us to grasp the difference. I'll explain. There are certain ingredients of the offense of culpable homicide not amounting to murder. All these ingredients put together make the offense of culpable homicide not amounting to murder. Now suppose if some extra ingredients of facts, circumstances. When I talk about ingredients of offenses, I mean the facts and circumstances. So in the ingredients of culpable homicide not amounting to murder, if some extra spicy ingredients of more serious facts and circumstances are added, it gets converted into the offense of murder. But after it gets converted into the offense of murder, if there are some more circumstances which we call diluters, which circumstances again reduce the gravity of that offense, that murder again gets converted back into the offense of culpable homicide not amounting to murder. Clear up to this? I hope the things are now clear. I'll explain more. So the first basic thing to keep in mind is always the offense of culpable homicide not amounting murder gets converted into murder if those extra serious ingredients are present. See, when we look into the Indian Penal Code, section 299 and 300, especially the definition of murder in section 300, the very beginning words of that section will bring out this very clearly to us. The offense of culpable homicide gets converted into murder. There is nothing like independent definition of murder. So whenever we want to understand the definition of murder, it is essential for us to first understand the definition of culpable homicide not amounting to murder, because that offense itself gets converted into murder with addition of certain extra ingredients. So the first thing to be borne in mind is that culpable homicide not amounting to murder only gets converted into murder. Just for the sake of understanding this, let us look at the language of section 300, the beginning words. Except in the cases hereinafter accepted. I'll explain this also later, because this confuses. So don't worry about it now. Just pay attention to what I'm saying. Except in the cases hereinafter accepted. Culpable homicide is murder if the following things are present. जो भी दिए हैं वहाँ पर, वो अगर present है, culpable homicide is murder. So the first thing to understand is that for any offense to be murder, it has first to be a culpable homicide not amounting to murder. The first thing for you to check is whether the facts and circumstances make out the offense of culpable homicide not amounting to murder first, and then to check whether in the facts and circumstances of the offense of culpable homicide, any extra elements which go to make it or convert it into the offense of murder as given in the definition are present or not. I hope things are very clear up to this. And then means after you examine the facts of the matter and come to a conclusion that yes, the facts which convert that offense of culpable homicide into murder appear to be present, the next step that you have to take is to check whether the facts and circumstances which dilute the offense of murder and again convert it back into the offense of culpable homicide not amounting to murder are present or not. These diluter facts and circumstances are mentioned in section 300 itself, and these diluters are called exceptions. So the composition of section 300 is that it starts with whatever is there in the form of culpable homicide not amounting to murder and builds upon that. It provides what extra facts, if present in the offense of culpable homicide not amounting to murder, convert it into murder, and what other facts which are in the nature of exceptions, if present in the whole scenario of murder, again convert it back into the offense of culpable homicide not amounting to murder. So it must be now clear to you that culpable homicide, the definition of culpable homicide not amounting to murder is genus, and the offense of murder is its specie. In zoology, there is called genus and specie. That thing is also here. Genus means a larger group which has common elements, common characteristics. But within that larger group, there is a smaller group which has some special characteristics and make it different from the larger group. But that is still contained within the larger group. I'll give you a simple example. And please bear in mind, this is not an example coming from an expert in zoology. It's an example based on common sense that I'm giving. Human beings. Human beings is a large group of some people. And within that large group of human beings are species like male human beings, female human beings, children, like that. So just like human beings is a genus, males, females are their species. So here the large definition of culpable homicide not amounting to murder contains within itself the offense of murder if certain extra characteristics are present. But if within that smaller group of murder, some more extra facts are present, it again gets converted back into the offense of culpable homicide not amounting to murder. So from that smaller group, it again falls back into the larger group. That's the process. And when the young advocates do not understand this, they get confused. Many times they find it difficult to understand. वो उन्हें बहुत दिमाग लगाते रहते बेचारे, समझता ही नहीं culpable homicide और murder का difference क्या है, कैसे करना. But this is at the theoretical level. And it's important to understand this difference even at the theoretical level first. And for that, you will have to take up the reading of both the sections at the same time, repeatedly, calmly, and peacefully, so that you really understand the difference between the two sections. And of course, these sections are of Indian Penal Code. I have not used that word since a long time from the beginning of this video, but let me clarify that I am talking about the sections in Indian Penal Code. Now, apart from this, there are really some confusing things in the definition of murder in section 300 of IPC. The first confusing thing is the very beginning language of that section. This confuses very much. And the reader just got bogged down in those words, trying to understand what exactly it means. But once understood, the meaning becomes very clear. And once you bear the distinction as I explained to you in mind. वो कौन से शब्द है वो beginning words? Except in the cases hereinafter accepted, culpable homicide is murder. If the act by which death is caused is done with this, that. अब ये दिमाग खराब कर डालते हैं. ये क्या चीज़ है? Except in the cases hereinafter accepted. You know, there was a very eminent criminal jurist, and he hailed from Nagpur only, Dr. Hari Singh Gaur. And he wrote wonderful commentaries upon Indian Penal Code. And while dealing with section 300 in his commentary, that eminent man has criticized this section, saying that this could have been worded in a better way. And he goes on explaining in what manner it could have been worded. He actually rewords the section to make it understandable for all. He says that the legislature or the drafters of Indian Penal Code could have made it more simpler. Why they made it complicated? But anyways, now we have to understand the section as it stands today. So let us understand it, except in the cases hereinafter accepted. It means very simply, the thing that you have to understand is there are certain situations in the section itself which are in the nature of exceptions. And therefore the words hereinafter accepted become meaningful. The thing that we have to understand is that there are some exceptions given. So, now the beginning words, except in the cases hereinafter accepted, become more meaningful. So, in all situations which do not fall within the exceptions of section 300, in all the remaining situations, the offense of culpable homicide becomes converted into murder. Simple. Now see, you have a first set of facts which make it culpable homicide not amounting to murder. You have second additional set of facts which convert that culpable homicide not amounting to murder into murder. And you have third set of facts which convert the offense of murder again back to culpable homicide not amounting to murder, which is in the nature of third set. The third set is in the nature of exceptions. So the beginning words simply mean that apart from the situations which fall in the exceptions given in section 300, in the remaining situation of section 300, the offense is murder. They have clarified it more by saying that the offense of culpable homicide is murder. Now see, I am trying to make it clear to you in different ways by giving my own crude examples of subzi and then genus and species and all that. And I hope I have made my point very clear up to this. Please let me know in the comments if I have been able to make these things very clear to you by now or not. So this is the first confusing thing, the very beginning words of section 300. The next confusing thing is in the contents of the definition of section 300 and 299. Now see, at the very beginning of this video I said that I would not be dwelling on the detailed contents of section 299 and 300. And I'm not doing that even now because I have reserved that for another video. But still, for the purpose of making the second confusing thing more clear to you, I will be dwelling a little upon the very first ingredient which goes to make the offense of culpable homicide into the offense of murder, and that is intention. Now my dear friends, this will confuse you, the very first factor. It will confuse you more greatly. See, if you read section 299, you will know that whoever causes death with the intention of causing death commits the offense of culpable homicide not amounting to murder. But when you also read section 300, the very first ingredient, the same ingredient is given there. I'll read it for you. Except in the cases hereinafter accepted, culpable homicide is murder if the act by which the death is caused is done with the intention of causing death. So you will not find any difference as far as this first ingredient is concerned in between both the sections. Section 299 also speaks of intention and section 300 also speaks of intention. Of course, the other ingredients in section 300, secondly, thirdly, fourthly, they are very distinct. And then those next ingredients clearly make the difference between culpable homicide not amounting to murder and murder. But the first ingredient of intention, you will find, is same in both the offenses. So the question is, what is the difference then? If intention is present in a particular situation, the accused will argue that this is not an offense of murder but an offense of culpable homicide. Whereas the prosecution will argue that this is an offense of murder and not an offense of culpable homicide. How to distinguish between that? That is a great question. And the students and lawyers and maybe more experienced lawyer than the younger ones tend to get confused about these things. That I'll explain now. Whether the presence of the element of intention, the criminal mind, while killing a human being, would make it an offense of culpable homicide not amounting to murder or an offense of murder would depend upon the nature of evidence that comes before the court, the nature of facts that it makes out, the gravity of the offense, the cruelty involved in it, the evil design with which the act is committed. Understanding? The court will have to look into the facts and circumstances of the case to find out whether there are some whether there is some extra edge to that criminal intention. Extra edge, whether it involves some cruel manner, some cruel act or premeditated crime, a diabolical manner of the crime. Although the intention is same, the element of intention is present, that extra edge elements will distinguish the offense of culpable homicide not amounting to murder. The court will have to sift the evidence. And in the same manner, even the lawyers will have to present their cases. The prosecution side will try to present it in a manner which will try to argue that the same ingredients which make out intention contains those extra elements which makes that crime committed with criminal mind a murder. Whereas the accused side will argue that the same elements do not contain that extra edge. I mean, extra edge means the circumstances which give extra edge to that crime. That's how, मतलब वो खेल जो है that वो रहेगा कोर्ट के सामने जो एविडेंस आता है उसके बाद अप्रिसिएशन लेवल पर. The whole game will be at the stage of appreciation of evidence by the court. Whether to adjudge it as a crime of culpable homicide or that of a murder. Getting me? And here comes the skill of the advocate. Here comes the test of the advocate in presenting their cases before the court. एक कहेगा कि नहीं ये मर्डर है, ये देखिए ये एलिमेंट्स है, बट ये भी चीज़ देखिए, वो भी चीज़ देखिए, द वे ही डेल्ट द ब्लो, द वे ही गेव स्टैब, द वे ही डिड दिस, वे ही डिड दैट, वे ही कट हिज हेड एंड ऑल दैट. और वो एक्यूज साइड बोलेगा कि नहीं ये तो प्रूव नहीं हुआ है और वो चीज़ उस वजह से है, ये सब चीज़ें. तो द रियल गेम विल बी एट द स्टेज ऑफ actual appreciation of evidence that comes before the court, and of course presentation of arguments by the lawyers. Despite best presentation of the lawyers, evidence cannot be ignored. The fact remains, the evidence cannot be ignored. So friends, I hope I have clarified to you, I have explained to you the method by which you can understand the difference between culpable homicide not amounting to murder, and also which are the things that tend to confuse when you study the definition of the offense of culpable homicide and murder in IPC. And why this is important, why this difference assumes importance, because it has a direct bearing on the quantum of punishment. If an offense is adjudged to be a murder, then the court has no option but to award the punishment either of death or of life imprisonment. But if it is proved to be not an offense of murder but an offense of culpable homicide not amounting to murder, then suddenly the quantum of punishment gets reduced down either to 10 years or 7 years. Even within the offense of culpable homicide not amounting to murder, there are 2 degrees. One is a bit serious degree and other is a bit less serious degree. That I will explain in the next video. Actually, there are 3 degrees of the offense of homicide. The first degree is murder, second degree is culpable homicide not amounting to murder in serious sense, and third is culpable homicide not amounting to murder in less serious sense. All these things we will see in the next video. But I hope in this video I have transferred to you, shared with you that thing which helps you understand the difference between culpable homicide and murder. The tool, the technique, call it whatever you want, the method, the way of understanding. I have tried my best to convey it to you. How far it has gone up to you, that I want to know in your comments. And yes, there is a homework for you. And also let me know in the comments section how many of you have completed that homework. The homework is simple. Just open your books of Indian Penal Code, the bare acts, and read thoroughly the definition of culpable homicide not amounting to murder in section 299 and the definition of murder in section 300. Read it thoroughly and understand at your own level. And then see if that difference that I explained to you in this video, the method that I have explained to you in this video, that shared with you, helps you in understanding the difference between the two sections. And take my word, dear friends, if you do this exercise, the things will remain permanently embedded in your head. This study will never go waste. It will always help you in your law practice. With that, I take your leave and wish you all the best. See you in the next video.